serve you as President of the United States of America.
Imagine I'm Goldilocks, the bear is the electorate. The bear will say, for crying out loud, eat the porridge.
Sir, are you the driver? I'm a concerned citizen.
A concerned citizen.
Connecticut's Supreme Court is allowing Sandy Hook parents to sue Remington over how the company marketed the AR-15 assault rifle the gunman used to kill 20 students. Federal law has protected gun companies from liability for mass shootings since 2005, but the court says that the case can move ahead based on state laws barring unfair trade practices. Remington has denied any wrongdoing. The two women accused of killing the half-brother of North Korea's leader are facing vastly different consequences. On Monday, Malaysia freed Siti Aisyah, who's Indonesian, after her country asked. But today, the Attorney General denied the same request from Vietnam to free Duan Thi Huong, who's set to stand trial next month. Both women have said they thought they were taking part in a prank for a reality TV show. 47 years after Bloody Sunday, when 13 unarmed protesters were shot dead, Northern Ireland's public prosecutor is charging a former British paratrooper with murder. Authorities say there wasn't enough evidence to charge 16 other former British soldiers suspected of opening fire on the crowd. 12 Republicans joined Democrats in the Senate to pass a resolution blocking President Trump's declaration of an emergency at the southern border. Not that it'll change Trump's mind on using his executive powers.
In the vote today, whether it's positive or not, I'm vetoing it unless I don't have to veto. I think that's unlikely. I'll do a veto. It's not going to be overturned.
Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross was on Capitol Hill today, getting grilled about his plan to include a citizenship question on the 2020 census. Wait, what's that sound?
Of Americans who want
Is
to
it?
ensure that we squarely
Could it be?
confront the This is going to be a positive campaign that seeks to bring out the very best from every single one of us.
I promise you, we had a really good report on the Ross hearing prepared. But come on, folks. How is old Wilbur going to compete with the dreamy, affable hipster dad, Beto O'Rourke? O'Rourke, a former congressman from Texas you may have heard of, announced his presidential run today. He's already in Iowa, on the stump. 6 months ago, Beto was the hottest thing going. He was running against Ted Cruz, and Democrats were stoked. Beto's name was everywhere, not just in Texas, but all over the country. His campaign raised more money than any Senate campaign ever. All the best reporters profiled him. He lost. But the margin was small enough that it made the Beto fire burn hotter. A lot of people wanted him to run for president.
What's it gonna take for you to say, yes, I'm doing it?
Then, suddenly, a lot of Democratic voters didn't want him to run. Most vocally, supporters of this guy. They thought Beto was awesome for Texas in 2018, but much less awesome for America in 2020. Beto's now being cast by those people as not the progressive hero you may remember hearing about, but as a dangerous establishment figure who might even be a secret Republican. As a congressman, Beto voted with the Trump administration 30% of the time, according to an analysis from 538.com. A lot of those votes were for Texas-y things. He voted for a bill to allow oil exports, for example. Progressives say that will create more oil production, which is bad for the earth. Texans say a lot of us work in the oil industry, so it's good for Texas. But Beto does support a ton of progressive causes, like universal health care, gun control, and immigration reform. He recently said that he'd take down existing border fencing if he could.
We project our fears and anxieties to places like El Paso, to the U.S.-Mexico border, and punish the people who live here.
On the trail, Beto's going to get asked a lot about which persona is the real him. He started workshopping his answer before he even announced.
In Texas, Ted Cruz called me a socialist. I'm too liberal for Texas. Outside of Texas, people say, is he really a Democrat? I think he's a closet Republican. I don't know where I am on the spectrum, and I almost could care less.
There's two ways this could go. Democratic primary voters can decide that 2020 is all about progressive purity. Or they can decide it's about electability, with voters rallying around a candidate they think can actually beat President Trump. It's hard to figure out which one it's going to be this early. But we have one way to measure how Beto's rep has changed. Democrats these days are all about small dollar donations. In the first 24 hours of Bernie's 2020 bid, he raised $5.9 million from 223,047 separate donors. If Beto can raise a ton of cash from a ton of people in the first day of his candidacy, he can quiet some of the doubters. His rivals are clearly taking him seriously. Bernie supporters have already launched their own money bomb to try and outraise Beto in those first 24 hours. Kamala Harris jabbed at Beto's white maleness in her fundraising plea today, tapping into criticism that Beto's wandering the country routine would never have flown for a female candidate. How will all this backlash affect Beto's chances in the long run? Check back in a few days. If Beto hauls in the cash, he may have already put this whole labeling controversy behind him. If the Bernie people can blow him out of the water, maybe we'd all be better off talking about Wilbur Ross.
So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlock.
At the end of a historic week in British politics, the country's left without a functioning government, and the Prime Minister literally losing voice.
By far the best outcome is that the United Kingdom leaves the European Union in an orderly fashion.
The series of votes this week were meant to seal a departure from the European Union.
Mr. Speaker!
But Parliament voted down Prime Minister Theresa May's deal a second time, and today voted to try to push back the deadline. As with every other attempt to contain the Brexit contagion, it's only become more virulent. Let's take a moment to reflect on all the bad decision-making that brought us to this new low.
We will deliver that in-out referendum on our future in Europe.
He became Brexit's first victim, setting in motion a series of flippant claims.
June the 23rd needs to become a national bank holiday, and we will call it Independence Day.
Which is what got this man a job as Secretary of State.
This does not mean that the United Kingdom will be in any way less united.
Am I optimistic about the future? Absolutely.
This is the most important negotiation and transition in our modern history.
Every exaggeration has also forced politicians into impossible positions that have proved difficult to hold. Brexit secretaries and government ministers have been resigning week after week. The only constant in all this has been May. She's still sitting in a job no one wanted, despite every effort made to remove her and her government. This tactic is costing her friends and power. One of those who still stands by her side is senior Conservative Member of Parliament Charles Walker, and now the Prime Minister reminds him of someone.
Who's the die-hard actor? Bruce Willis, you know, he's absolutely down and he's out with the guy whose brother he killed, who was the famous ballet dancer actually acting. And then you think he's dead, then suddenly at the last he rises up and slays his tormentor. That is Theresa May. It just looks like the most ghastly job in the world, and each day it just gets more ghastly, to be perfectly honest. I have total admiration for what she does. Her diary is blocked off in 5-minute chunks, and the truth of it is, there is not a single person in our party who could have done this better.
There's a Brexit deal on the table. Yeah. Lots of people admit it's not perfect, but there's the opportunity in your hand to take it. And why are people who really want Brexit the most not taking that opportunity?
Because here is the total weirdness of this. You've got, it's a bit like that bowl of porridge in Goldilocks, yeah? But the country really does deserve to have us move on from this. It deserves its members of parliament to say, you know what? That bowl of porridge is too hot. That bowl of porridge is too cold. This is about warm enough. I can live with this bowl of porridge.
Hey, hey, Theresa May, give us all a Bible.
Yellow vest protesters have been raging for 17 weeks straight against the French government, turning what started as a one-off protest over fuel taxes into an all-out revolt of the working class. The administration's tried to bring down the temperature by creating calm, safe spaces where President Emmanuel Macron can engage with the public. This week, his government wraps a 2-month listening tour. It's called the Grand Debate.
Donc voilà, ce que je veux cet après-midi, c'est qu'on ait l'échange le plus libre, le plus direct, et donc c'est à vous de vous saisir tout particulièrement de ce moment national.
C'est à ça que sert ce grand débat, c'est de la belle démocratie. Enfin, on vous donne la parole. Toutes les paroles sont acceptables. Tout le monde a le droit de s'exprimer.
A key component of the Grand Debate are the more than 10,000 public meetings which have been held, like this one in Ravan, where people air their complaints and brainstorm ideas.
Vous pouvez aussi, bien évidemment, sortir si vous avez envie de fumer une cigarette. À 8 heures, on revient et on marque sur le tableau les doléances principales que vous avez. On ne va pas renvoyer toutes les idées au gouvernement, on va renvoyer les idées qui vous paraissent les plus importantes.
It's part town hall, part corporate offsite, but the participants are sincere.
Plus personne n'est capable d'acheter de la viande pour manger maintenant.
Une baguette qui coûte 1 euro pour une personne qui gagne 1 000 euros, c'est pas la même chose qu'une personne qui gagne 3 000 ou quelque chose.
Here, 1 in 4 people are out of work, more than twice the national average.
Les dépenses sociales en France, c'est 740 milliards d'euros. C'est-à-dire ça, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
To express their grievances, they get comment cards and questionnaires. The government says what they come up with will help inform policies to be announced next month.
Le sondage va être interdit. On devait les arrêter 1 mois avant.
Alors, on a parlé de l'accès aux soins pour tous, les soins dentaires, ophtalmo, auditifs.
Puisque tout le monde est d'accord pour mettre 2 revendications sur celui-ci.
By day, organiser Shaban Sahel is an unemployment counsellor. On weekends, he puts on his yellow vest.
Là, aujourd'hui, la France, c'est une cocotte minute. Et donc, avant qu'elle explose, pour lui et pour son gouvernement, il vaut mieux qu'il nous entende un minimum.
But people have a hard time feeling heard when no one from the government shows up. We asked a local councilwoman why she didn't attend. She said the last time she met with protesters, they seemed more interested in attacking her than discussing solutions. If there's no politician from the government or no representative from the government here at the debate, are you just talking amongst yourselves?
Non, je pense qu'aujourd'hui, le peuple français a un besoin de parler. Et les débats que nous avons organisés leur permettent aujourd'hui de leur redonner de nouveau la parole. Aujourd'hui, notre débat, c'est malheureux que les politiques du gouvernement ne veulent pas venir nous rencontrer, discuter et peut-être entendre ce qui ne va pas dans notre pays. Mais je me dis qu'aujourd'hui, notre victoire, c'est d'avoir pu redonner la parole aux Français.
The bigger debates can look very different, like this one near Paris. For one thing, government figures like Marlène Schiappa, Minister for Women's Rights, show up. But their presence means more control. Speakers and even the audience have been vetted ahead of time.
L'idée de cette conférence, c'est que les maires parlent et que les experts les écoutent pour faire en sorte qu'à l'issue du grand débat, les propositions qui concernent les maires isolés soient entendues et fassent l'objet de politiques publiques.
There are no whiteboards, no improvisation. There's also no arguments about this topic. Single mothers.
Il serait envisagé en tout cas proposer de créer des chèques de babysitting, étendre également l'aide juridictionnelle totalement gratuite pour les procédures de divorce, prélever à la source la pension alimentaire et pénaliser davantage les non-payeurs.
Vous avez dit énormément de choses, merci beaucoup. Je ne vais pas du tout faire la synthèse, mais merci en tout cas de nous aider à construire ces politiques publiques cet après-midi. Merci à vous en tout cas. Merci.
Do you think you've managed to change a crisis in chaos into an opportunity now, using these grand debates?
Moi, j'ai le sentiment qu'effectivement, il y a un switch qui a été impulsé par le président de la République. Les gens disaient qu'ils ne le voyaient pas assez ou qu'ils avaient envie, en tout cas, de plus voir le président et pouvoir l'interpeller, discuter avec lui parler. Et là, c'est ce qui a été fait.
Macron was battered in the polls. You know, one of the most unpopular presidents, according to opinion polls, in the history of France. Do you think this will be enough for your party and for him to make a comeback?
Alors d'abord, là, c'est pas du tout le président le plus impopulaire de l'histoire. On a traversé des crises extrêmement difficiles. La France, on est un pays de démocratie, un pays aussi de manifestation. C'est le jeu de la démocratie.
Emmanuel Macron,
In 2019, in France, this is what democracy looks like. Yellow Vest protesters see supermarket chains like this as part of a capitalist machine that squeezes farmers and undermines the local community. This kind of direct action and episodes of violence has caused public support of the movement to fall. But here, they say protests will continue, and Macron hasn't changed their minds.
What do you think of these grand debates that have been taking place?
Alors le grand débat, j'en pense rien du tout. Non, s'il vous plaît, c'est de l'enfumage. Macron, à mon avis, pour le moment, il faut aucune concession, mais nous non plus. Vous pouvez regarder depuis, on a fait Noël, on a fait Nouvel An dans la rue, hein, on a fait 7 jours sur 7, 24. Est-ce que vous croyez que 4 mois après ou 3 mois après, on est encore là? Ben, on y sera encore, on ne lâche rien.
Macron, démission! Macron, démission!
So a consolidated bus here is idling for reasons I don't know. So the first thing I must do is engage my clock to know where I am in the 4-minute sequence, if it works. And then go to my timestamp photography. So we're at 3:47, so I'm gonna go and shoot the other license plate and do the remainder of the video. And as mentioned, there's no discharge of passengers at all. And it's only the driver in the bus, thanks. So that's it. The law says that a vehicle, truck, bus, car, limousine, can't pull up at the curb and idle their engine more than 3 minutes. On December 19th, 2017, City Council passed Law 717A, which allows a citizen to prepare and present evidence of idling only trucks and buses to the Department of Environmental Protection. By doing so, the citizen can get 25% of a $350 bounty. I have submitted 120 times, and I've made $9,000 cash in the bank. I did statistics for 5 years, gathering up information as to the nature of those that idle in New York City. And the comments that people would make to me as I'm talking to them: are you a cop? Are you telling me what to do? The law only applies to diesel. It's not true. Citation! What is it? You have to talk about the fact that your engine's on.
Oh man, come on man, you're a pain in the ass.
Is there something we want to discuss here? The citizens' complaint thing happened as a result of certain key people in City Council seeing the documentary film Idle Threat, which is something I produced in 2012. I was influenced by the aftermath of the Iraqi war. It was quite clear that our motivation for going there and fighting wasn't for weapons of mass destruction, it was really for oil. And just at the same time, my brother came down with stage 4 lung cancer, and he was not a smoker. Just as this was going on, I began to witness and observe trucks and buses in the city at curbside idling their engines. And I said, boy, that's an interesting situation since we went to war for oil, and these people are wasting the oil we went to war for. I never dreamed it would migrate into an actual law where I'd be able to benefit. You know, there's strength in numbers, and so I have about 12 people under me, and I like to call them street agents.
From when I started, which is in early May, to the end of December, I have submitted 297 complaints.
That's just phenomenal.
How many have gone forward?
I've gotten 35 checks, 12 checks in 2018 and 23 checks in 2019.
That's called record keeping. That's terrific.
That's pretty thorough.
Recently, actually, I've had people come out and ask me what I'm doing and start to record me.
Recording them?
Yeah, they'll tape, they'll shoot me back.
Patrick, what about you?
I don't. I have zero experience. I haven't submitted anything yet. Okay.
Let's see what's going on with Giorgio Produce here. Make sure that you take a photograph of the address, which is on the side.
And then I'll take a video, right?
It's good to have steady camera work.
Okay.
So that's part of the evidence that goes in front of the Department of Environmental Protection, in court.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I care about air pollution really for two reasons. Number one, on a personal level, I'm somebody who likes to exercise. I run a lot. I don't really appreciate breathing in, toxic air and exhaust fumes. The other reason is basically a public health issue. So this is really busy as far as idling is concerned. This road here, Amsterdam Avenue.
I get a lot of my customers. I like to call them my customers on this avenue.
Another thing I've experienced is that when I would see a vehicle like this and then talk to a police officer that is standing right by there, they basically don't react at all.
The police, even though they're aware of the situation and perhaps the hazards of the situation, they just don't care to enforce the law themselves.
The idea is not for me to go out there and spend my time doing this. This is not what I want to do at all. Thousands of people should be doing this. It's not about writing tickets, issuing tickets, having court dates, submitting paperwork. No, it's about people stopping idling.
Sir, are you the driver?
Yeah, what?
Are you aware that your engine's been idling for about 4 or 5 minutes?
Okay, what's the big deal?
But it's against the law in New York City to have an engine on more than 3 minutes. Are you aware of that?
Who are you?
I'm a concerned citizen.
A concerned citizen. No problem, I'll turn it off.
Please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I hope I didn't kill anybody.
No, you haven't killed anybody. But thank you. Appreciate it.